It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Feedback Friday. You ever start talking and it's like, oh, my voice did not sound like what I thought it was going to? That was me. Okay, it's Feedback Friday. And before we go on, yes, I have seen the trailer for the Duskbloods. And I could nitpick that there are a lot of recycled concepts and it does not look very original, but that would be insincere. I know I'm going to play it. The fact that it's apparently multiplayer is going to complicate things for me, but hey, I'm pretty sure I can find people to play that game with me. Whether it suits my schedule or theirs, different story, but yes, it's from Soft. It's Guide to Bloodborne with a side of Elden Ring with jetpacks and vampires. And I mean, honestly, the graphics do not look very good in places, but then there's that big frog monster, and there goes my money. If I have it, I don't know. It's going to be a very expensive month for me. But I just wanted to get that out of the way before we get into the meat of things and this trend of blame and boys that seems to have been uh a lot of discussions this week. So let's get into that. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. And people need to get some stuff off their chest. Coffee.com/Leanna K. You too can sign up for a Leanna Care session for yourself. Link is in the description box below to the intake form. All right. One of the big topics of conversation this week was the show Adolescence. There was reference in the comments. I have not seen it yet. I've read about it and I've asked some people who are in the UK about the response to it. And it seems to be more the response to it than the show itself that's problematic. Because my base answer to anything about a show is it deserves to exist, right? They got something made. I'm a little concerned about the age of the actors in it, the process they used to make it, and, the lack of experience, a lack of acting experience in that team just because of the subject matter. But we're going to have to wait and see on that one, because being very young and being in something extremely controversial, I was in my 20s, and it was hard. Being 15 years old, I can't imagine. I mean, okay, I started when I was 19 on Ed and Red's Night Party, but it wasn't on camera. It was 7 years before I was on camera. So it was like, 26, 27. I was already old. But yeah, being a gender traitor was not fun. So the subject matter of incels and violence, and I don't know about anybody else. I'm so fucking sick of talking about incels. And my opinions don't line up neatly with any group. More and more, I believe there is no such thing as an incel. If you want to get laid that badly, make choices. If you want human connection, make choices. There's no such thing as an involuntary celibate. There are voluntary choices being made, or there are serious mental health problems that supersede that. But it doesn't even seem like I've talked to some guys who consider themselves sort of incel adjacent, or like, hey, they meet the technical definition of an incel, but they recognize, no, they are making choices. They're not really ready to date. They're too afraid of getting hurt, so the involuntary part isn't really accurate. And, I think we should be encouraging everyone, but especially men, to realize that sex is not a requirement for manhood or masculinity. And if you're not ready, you shouldn't be forced into it if that's not where, either of your heads at that moment. And I do think we're doing a lot of damage with the term. I do. When you're applying incel to a boy, the actor was apparently 15. The character is apparently younger. What the fuck? Right? Like, everybody is like, oh, parents need to see this. And one bloke I talked to in the UK said it's just that middle class people in the UK are now going, oh, it could happen to my kid, which I think is the most accurate description of why people are, oh, adolescence. But the idea that boys are being defined that way, that young, holy shit, that is a major social problem that doesn't start with boys. Of course it doesn't start with boys. They're fucking minors. And we talk a lot about the adultification of black girls and black boys. But it seems like and what does that mean? It means that because of the negative sexual stereotypes surrounding black people, black girls and black boys are seen as older than they are. So like 14 years old and being treated like adults in terms of responsibility and punishment. And at the same time, we're like, oh, trans kids can't make any choices for themselves at all until they're 18 and maybe not even then. And yet, boys are incels before the age of 15. This is some serious societal fuckage right here. And the kids are not doing it to themselves. We cannot go, oh, boys are the problem when this shit's going on. And I haven't seen it. I'm going to try to watch it on the weekend. I don't know if I can. Because it's March Madness and I am watching Final Four. The men's and the women's, if I can. It's my happy place. But fuck, man. Like, it doesn't even matter how good or not good the show is. The fact that people are missing this shit. Enough. We want to solve this supposed problem of dangerous, violent 12-year-old boys. Right? We have to do two things. Enough with the incel shit. We already have a word for men who hate and mistreat women. They're called misogynists. Have we ruined this word? Maybe, but that's what it is. Comparing bad treatment of women and involuntary celibacy, stop it. Stop it. You are not helping men with that. You are not helping women with that. I strongly believe in taking that word out of your vocabulary, except in quotations, because that is a sexist stereotype. It is a misandrist stereotype that masculinity is tied to sexual activity. And if you're worried about girls getting raped, stop pushing boys to have sex. Just stop making it a requirement. Because, unless you think they're all gay, which, let's face it, this is a very heteronormative thing, because incel, oh, you mistreat women. It's not about the sex, it's about the attitude. But the attitude is misogyny. You are invoking, you don't have sex, therefore you're a loser. And making that about misogyny. But it's not. It's a misogyny, misandry cycle. You are committing misandry every time you use the word incel. You are, because you are tying manhood to sexual activity. And if we want, especially things like sexual assault on college campuses, to be reduced, we have to stop pressuring boys to score, right? Scoring is for my basketball on the weekend. Stop talking about it in balls and strikes, right? I know I just mixed metaphors with baseball, but it's not about that. It's an intimate act. It doesn't have to be monogamous, but if you're coming at it from a healthy framework, there should be some emotional content in it, because otherwise, hormones are released during and after sex that create this feeling of closeness. And if you are artificially shutting that down, that is doing not great things to yourself. Now, do you have to be madly in love with someone? No. But we really don't talk to adolescents enough about the emotional component of sexual activity. We don't even talk to adults enough about it. Never mind adolescence, but it's getting worse with adolescence because you get called a groomer. Like, the problem just keeps getting worse, right? And somebody's got to start taking some risks. Everybody's got to start taking some risks, right? Because we're still, the sexual assault of women statistics are not going down. Sexual assault of men statistics are going up. And we've got a bunch of other social problems. And now we've got this tariff thing. And so all the pressures and all the explosions are only going to get more pressurized. The second thing we need to do, so the first thing we need to do is enough with the incels. Enough. I truly believe this. Enough. Call them misogynists. Do not associate a man's worth with sex, even if you go, well, that's not what the term means to me. Look at the fucking term. It is a portmanteau of involuntary celibate. It is. And there's no such thing. People make fucking choices. People make fucking choices. People make fucking choices. And we need to start owning our goddamn choices. That's number 2. No more of this, oh, they made me. Oh, it's involuntary. No, you want to get fucking laid? Start being a little nicer to everybody. Because women notice when you're shitty to the waiter. But also, just, if you think someone's an asshole, just either argue with them on the merits of the argument or just don't be around them. This constant fighting is a choice. I was never big on the idea of punching up because punching up is still punching. And I am very aware, because, we had a conversation, again, like a group, about the fact that there's a lot of talk of feminine energy, but we don't talk about women with masculine energy because that's not feminine and it's unattractive. But hello, right here. And it really is an issue where when I am fair to someone, not nice, but fair, it usually goes badly because they don't know how to handle it. And that is a choice. Reacting to something from your past instead of what's going on right in front of you at face value is a choice. So if somebody is asking you a question, just answer it. It's just a conversation. No blast doors are going to come on. You're on the fucking internet, for fuck's sake. You can always leave, right? So if somebody asks you a question, answering it honestly is not a trap, you know? And it's amazing to me how many people treat a question as an attack. And it's usually of the kind, okay, you're saying this general statement. Give me a single example of what you're talking about, right? I talked about this yesterday, so I won't belabor it. And some people found the discussion of schema very, very useful. So that made me happy. See, I choose to focus on the people that say the content was helpful, not the haters. Though I did give out a couple of behavior warnings this week because I choose to give people chances. I don't go, oh, they're just trolling, ban immediately. I announce when I ban people, and I give people warnings before they're banned. And I don't have to do that. That is a choice. Why? Because I feel that is fair. It's just YouTube comments. I'm going to tell somebody, hey, cut this out, and this is why. Usually because it just seems like bad faith shitting up of comments. But I give them a chance. And then, if they're given a chance and they don't take it, that too is a choice, right? Real simple, real fair. It's what I would want. It's what I do want, and I don't get. People put words in my mouth all the time. People jump to conclusions all the time. People lump me in with people whose opinions I do not share because of some surface identity shit all the time. And I don't like it. So I'm not going to do it to other people. The third thing we have to, so enough with the incel. Own your fucking choices. Everyone. Blowing up instead of walking away is a choice. Not all the time. Sometimes you lose it. It can be a trauma response. But a lot of the time, you have more control over it than you think you do. Trust me, I had to learn that myself. Own your fucking choices. You can choose not to snark. You can choose not to be a negative asshole when other people are trying to have fun. More on that on Monday. Own your choices. Number 3, we need to start listening to men and boys. Yes, we need to listen to women too. And I do think that listening in general is poor. People don't listen well. We are a society obsessed with expression, but not listening. And somebody reminded me this week of that phrase, you have 2 ears, but only one mouth for a reason. I say, and it's not therapy, listen twice before you talk once. And, part of listening effectively is having an open mind. But part of listening effectively is actually listening to the words that are used. Not the words that made you think of other words that made you feel attacked. No, they're not the same words. And that matters. There is a huge difference between I didn't feel understood and you're not listening. Now, a lot of the times, you're not listening is accurate. But I have not known very many people who respond well when someone says, you're not listening. They just go, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Useless exchange. Completely useless. And I believe in being effective. And, part of listening effectively is empathy. And there's not enough of that because empathy, compassionate empathy, active empathy is a learned skill. And it's a lot of trial and error to figure out how to do it yourself. How to hear. It's amazing how many clients of mine say to me, "Oh, I don't want to burden you with something." It's like it's my job. And it's not a burden. It's the opposite of a burden. I don't want to be a bother. I'm trying to think of a term that is the opposite of bother. I'm like, no bother, non-bother, unbother. You are an unbother. That doesn't sound good. But it's amazing how many people are so, like, that's an identity, right? Being a bother, being a burden is an identity. And that's something I had to shake off. I'm happy to be able to do a job that does that for people. I'd like to make a bit more money, but I think the pricing is fair right now, so it's going to have to come from other places. For the service people get and what people can afford right now. Like, times are tough. Things are challenging right now for everyone. There's already layoffs in the auto industry. Like, holy shit, that didn't take long. And I'm sure that's something of a stunt to scare the government, but thanks, Dolores. But listening does involve empathy. Listening does involve setting boundaries. Listening does involve making sure not only you've heard the words that someone uses, but that you understand them. And the only way to do that is to go, okay, what I understand you're telling me is this. Is this correct? Or can you give me more information on this part of things, right? You actually have to listen deeply, not just actively. And what I keep hearing from men is that there are issues with blame. And it goes back to boyhood. And, it there's a lot of stuff bubbling back up about Gamergate lately too, and it's like, again, I've been through a lot of shit storms, and in terms of how bad Gamergate got compared to some of the other, situations of a lot of very angry people about something. Gamergate was an adorable calico kitten I pet in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Okay. Oh my God. The kittens are cute. They roll on their back and they have the little tummies and you pet them. And that, like, compared to just being at one of these protests lately, you feel the rage. It doesn't feel like action. It just feels like people getting together and raging. And it is, I have to shake those off. And I'm really good at not letting other people's feelings stick to me, like other people's negative feelings. I've worked very hard on that. But when something does, it's like, whoa. And so I understand in that way this sense that you walk through life knowing people just absolutely despise you. There are some people, I believe they're a minority, of these Gaza protesters who just hate Jews. And you feel it because, like, it's not just an identity. I keep kosher. Well, kosher style. It's too expensive. I used to have a stamp on everything, and now if something has a stamp, it's like, okay, great. I actually haven't switched to a Canadian alternative for a meat-free product that comes out of the U.S. because it is kosher. Gardein, yeah. But, you know, people change because of that. And then all the negative shit about gingers. And people don't know that exists, but oh yeah. And so I get, and I don't think that's hateful. I think that stuff is just stupid assumptions. Though in some cultures, there is some hatred towards ginger people. And I half jokingly talk about like hair appropriation. Like, you know, if people can dye their hair this color, then yeah, I think people should be able to change their gender, because the people that dye their hair this color, they can get a tan. So they're seen as more attractive, and they don't have all the skin issues and the anesthetic resistance and all the other bullshit. They also don't have the alcohol tolerance. But, you know, all the other bullshit that comes with being a collection of recessive genes. So, okay, you get the cool looking thing without all of the problems. If J.K. Rowling can dye her hair red, fuck it, yeah, change your gender. If you even believe that it's gender changing. But, you know, Trans Day of Visibility passed this month, and I didn't do shit for it publicly. And the reason I didn't do shit for it publicly, because I am still stung from the "you're a bad ally" shit with Hogwarts Legacy. And I was fucking right. No, oh, get over that. Well, I'm not going to get over that, because people dropped Veilguard spoilers and people dropped Assassin's Creed Shadow spoilers. I had to nuke on Assassin's Creed Shadow spoilers from my chat. It was probably a bot while I was streaming on Twitch. And I said, you make this protest, everyone can use it. You're a bad ally. You're transphobic. And not a single fucking person has apologized for that. Not a single fucking one. Fuck it. You know, I will advocate for trans lives. I will advocate for trans rights every single day. But, you know, I also signed up for one of LGBTQ plus advocacy group, and I filled out a form of, what do you suggest we do? And then they sent out their action plan, and not a single suggestion I put there was on it. So I am going to start conserving my energy. I still believe in the issues. I don't believe in the direction the advocacy is going. And I have the right to do that. And that was a very long way of proving that when it comes to blame, when it comes to being attacked, when it comes to, you know, negative assumptions made about you, guys, I get it, you know? And people think gingerphobia is not real, just as people think misandry is not real, but it's fucking real. And there's all this argument about, that's not anti-Semitic, I'm just anti-Zionist. Well, 8 in 10 Jews are Zionists, so if you held a belief against 8 in 10 black people, something that 8 in 10 black people believe in and feel strongly about, and you thought that was an inherently bad thing and meant they like murdering babies, they would think you were racist. I'm not saying you are racist. I'm just saying, understand, they think you will be. They will think you're racist if you oppose something 8 in 10 people of a racial group believe strongly in. Just saying. Logic, right? So, you know, I get it. And I get why guys feel blamed. And I get why there's this fear of other people's opinions out there. And part of the reason I talk about the shit I get is to set an example of, like, look, the minute you try to do anything, no matter how good your intentions are, people are going to hate your guts. So that's hard. I get it. You gotta find a way to take that first step and understand that, yes, people will hate your guts. People will also like and appreciate what you're doing. And the people who will like and appreciate what you're doing will be far less than the people who hate your guts. I'm serious. This is true. But you're actually helping the people. You are providing support to the people. You are providing a path to the people that get and like what you do. And that is the important thing. That is the important thing. Because it's just like, you know, the complaints about gaming, they were never going to buy the game anyway, so why do you care if they're not going to buy it now? It's the same thing, right? Oh, they were never going to buy this game no matter what. So who cares if they hate it? Good, they hate it. The people who are never going to buy it hate it. Do the people who you're actually trying to appeal to like the game? Awesome, right? You know, I guarantee you From Software does not give a shit if people think their games are bleak and violent. That's the fucking point, right? That's one of the points. Oh, it's too hard. From Software does not give a shit about all the op-eds of there should be an easy mode in From Software games. Nope. That's not their design directive. And it's not easy. I get it. And we do have to lay off the blame on everyone. Because women feel very blamed too. But here's the thing. What is hateful unto you, don't do unto your neighbor. It's the Jewish golden rule. Oh God, Zionist. Ah! Oh, I'm not anti-Semitic. I just hate Israel, right? No. Hear me out. The Christian golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto you, right? And so people pick on people and insist, oh, well, I would be fine with it if I fucked up bad and people dogpiled me. That's not true. That's not true. That is a lie. And you're telling yourself that lie so you can retroactively appeal to the golden rule in Christian statements. But the Jewish golden version of the golden rule that predates the Christian one is if you don't like something, what is hateful unto you, do not do unto others. Do not do unto your neighbor. It is bad, don't do instead of good, do. And in that, does anybody like to be dogpiled? No, it's not a pleasant activity. So don't fucking participate in them. Unless you're prepared to own your choice to join in an act of cruelty, because that's what dog piles are. They think it's cruelty for a good reason, but it's still, when you're picking on someone on the internet, when you're deliberately trying to hurt their feelings, when you're trying to drive them crazy, you are being mean. You think you have reasons, but you're being mean. And it is amazing to me how many people do that day in, day out, and then complain about cruelty from other people. Sorry, you lose the right to complain when you engage in it yourself. And that's not the same as accidentally hurting someone's feelings or someone not being able to take it when you drop facts, because facts are just facts, right? And getting frustrated is different than being mean. If you kind of lose it and something flies out of your mouth and you don't think about it, it wasn't intended to sting, but it does. That's different. But you're like, watch me fuck with this guy. And I've done it. I've fucked with people on social media and I've stopped doing it. You'll notice I am barely on social media anymore. I stopped a long time ago when I was still really active on it, seeking out people to fight with. God, it's been friggin' years. So if someone comes at me, I will respond. But I don't just look to find some rando on the internet and just shit all over their day. When someone talks about feeling blamed, you don't have to agree that it's factual. They are talking about a feeling. If they're going, you're blaming me, okay, different story. And you can amend it to like, just please say you feel blamed. Don't blame me for blaming you, right? Because there's this whole cycle of blame. Well, I'm going to blame people for something, so I feel blamed. But you're dishing it out when you couldn't take it. right? And I do hear a lot of, well, women do this and women do that and women, and what these guys are trying to say is they're buckling under the negativity. They're buckling under the blame. But they're dishing it out. So it's very, very, very hard to get to the kernel of the message. And I say to people, like, look, just talk about what happened to you. You are a specific individual, and specific individuals did that to you. And I can talk about it, and I can say, yeah, that wasn't fair. But the minute you start going women, or the minute you start going men, or parents, you must watch Adolescence because boys, right? No. These are generalizations, and they are negative generalizations. So you make a negative generalization about women, you're being misogynist. If you make a negative generalization about men, you're being misandrist. And okay, a little thing, it's not the end of the world. Every single one of us has done it. Every single one of us has made misandrist statements, has made misogynist statements, has made racist statements, has made homophobic statements, has made transphobic statements, right? Like every single one of us has. It's a question of, do we catch it? Do we realize what it is? We may not have realized it when we said it, but now we do. It's like, okay, you know, I've changed a lot of the way I talk because of that stuff. That is actually countering the bad stuff. That is actually taking some of the blame out, because I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming myself for making a mistake. I'm not blaming myself for trends changing. I'm not blaming myself that certain things were acceptable jokes to make in the 1990s that aren't now. I'm not. I'm pulling blame out of the cruelty economy. And I'm putting in fairness, responsibility. Blame is not accountability. Blame is not responsibility. Because blame is about, you did this. Accountability is, I'm doing this. And if everybody was just accountable and blamed less, holy shit, we could get so much more done. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who uses it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Or sign up for a Leanna Care session yourself using the description box below. Yes, hater commenter. If you don't want to, then you don't have to do it. Jesus, give it a rest. Everybody else, have a great weekend. I will be watching basketball. Thanks for watching.